Who stole the COTA trophies? Were Red Bull cheating? All this and more on the Traffic Report. Hello and welcome to the Traffic Report on Traffic Paradise Radio, your weekly F1 news roundup. I'm Immy and joining me today is Uno.
Hello.
Hi Uno, did you remember to subscribe so you don't miss out on the news?
My doctor told me I'm not allowed to anymore because I'm allergic. So for now, I'm just liking and commenting. Yeah, sorry about that, but that's all I can do.
I hope you get well soon. You should do allergy shots for that, I think.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. Hopefully soon, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very disappointing.
It is. Our first story of the week. Red Bull had to make changes to their car following a discussion with the FIA. They were alerted that Red Bull had a device in their cockpit that could be used to change the car's ride height in parc fermé conditions. Red Bull mechanics demonstrated the device's use to the FIA. The conclusion made was that it could not be accessed without it being extremely obvious that the car was being tampered with, as you have to reach down into the floor through the nose of the car. Either way, the car was modified so the device could no longer be accessed, to stop any possibility of it ever being used to adjust the floor illegally. Uno, do you think Red Bull ever used it during parc fermé?
Yes and no. Is that an answer? Could they have? Yeah. Did they? I don't know. Maybe not. You know, like there's that whole where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a tired idiom, but there's a reason this was brought up. There's a reason it was investigated, and then there's a reason why it was removed. If Red Bull could prove that they weren't using it in an illegal way, why would they remove it?
Yeah, I guess in that sense, it's just so they couldn't have done it one way and then actually have a different way they can do it that they didn't show them, which they can then continue to access. I mean, if I were them at this point, I wouldn't access it anyway. Everybody knows about it now. So any opportunity to use it would look 10 times more recognizable than maybe it would have before. And you don't really want to risk getting struck out of the championship, I'd say. Somebody I saw made the argument that Red Bull is so sort of wary of the weight of their car now, scrapping all of their special liveries because it adds too much weight. But they had this device in the car, which is sort of the where there's smoke, there's fire. Why did they have this device when they're so conscious of the weight if it wasn't being used for anything?
That's a very good point. Look at you channeling Jessica Fletcher, a person you know nothing about.
To be fair, I'd heard of the name, so...
Murder, She Wrote, for all your young'uns. Look it up. It's a great show. Probably not up to the standards of modern television, but still fun. Yeah, I think that's a very good point, Immy. The fact that they've been trying to do weight saving and it was still in the car, even though it was sort of like an additional unnecessary measure to adjust things where there are other ways of doing it, does seem suspicious. I'm kind of the view, and I think we'll maybe get into this a bit later and I'll elaborate on it more, but I kind of think that innovation in Formula One is very good. If a team comes up with a new way of doing things, the best course of action is for other teams to adopt that same thing, not to ban something that wasn't strictly speaking against the rules.
To be fair, this was strictly speaking against the rules.
I mean, was it?
Well, because if the device was used to change stuff in parc fermé where you explicitly can't change stuff, it's not like what we'll talk about later. It's not like they changed the regulations after. This was here, supposedly, for parc fermé.
Yeah, again, I suppose it depends on whether or not they've used it in parc fermé. It's sort of hard to know one way or another.
The real conclusion there is we have no way of knowing. So nothing will be done because they have no way of proving it or disproving it. That's how it is. And just they've been told to remove it, and that's it. I do agree. It would be an interesting thing for everybody to have on their car just because it seems like it makes it more easy to adjust the floor height. But then if there is an opportunity for that to be tampered with in parc fermé, I just think the FIA would want nothing to do with it, and I think that's fair. From one quote-unquote illegal part to another, McLaren also had to tweak their rear wing for COTA. After the mini DRS controversy post-Baku, McLaren made changes to their low downforce rear wing. But the FIA have come out with new regulations, stating that any expansion of the slot gap by more than 2 millimeters when DRS is closed will now be outside of regulation. McLaren aren't the only team who had to make modifications, just the only ones to own up. All of the race-winning teams are under suspicion of pushing boundaries rear wing-wise, with around 3 having to make adjustments for COTA. So Uno, when a team is able to design around the rules and create something innovative, does that help or hinder the sport?
So yeah, I'll just pick up on what I was talking about earlier. I always think that innovation in Formula One is a good thing. If a team is doing something and it's working, the correct course of action is for other teams to adopt that same piece of technology or whatever it might be. And I always use the double diffuser from the 2009 season as an example. Honda, oh no, sorry, not Honda. Oh, sorry, poor team. That should have been Honda, but was renamed and rebranded to Brawn GP because of the financial crisis. They had created this double diffuser. Red Bull and I think McLaren complained about it and said, no, they can't do this. It's against the rules. It's whatever. And it wasn't against the rules. It might have been against the spirit of the rules, but it wasn't against the actual rules. So Toyota and Brawn came with this double diffuser at the beginning of the season, and they kind of swept away the competition. Brawn more so than Toyota. But what eventually happened is it got adjudicated through the legal system within the FIA and Formula One, and it was found to be within the rules, and immediately all the other teams adopted it. And therefore they were able to catch up to Brawn, and then the rest of the season was this nail biter of a season where Red Bull and McLaren were able to catch up to Brawn and challenge them for race wins, and in Red Bull's case, to challenge them for both championships. Now, Brawn and Jenson Button ended up winning the 2 championships, but if Red Bull hadn't have adopted that double diffuser, there's no way they would have even been in the hunt for it. So when it comes to innovation, I think that that's the best option, is to, yeah, you can challenge it to see if it really is legal, but once it's deemed legal or once it's seen that it's actually not against any of the rules, just adopt it as like standard for all teams. What McLaren did was not against the rules. It's now against the rules because they've changed the rules. I think that's the wrong way of doing it. You shouldn't be changing the rules because someone came up with an innovative idea. The rules should be there to stop people doing things that are dangerous or unfair. What McLaren did was not unfair. They followed the rules and they came up with something really nifty and ingenious and novel that was an asset to their car. The whole point of Formula One is that it's this innovative sport. So to put restrictions on innovation, to me, seems counterintuitive to the ethos of the sport and why it exists.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like the contrast between the Red Bull bib controversy and the McLaren rear wing controversy is that with Red Bull, there were rules that could be broken. With McLaren, there weren't any rules that could be broken. It was like some people were, this is not fair because they have it and the other teams don't. How dare they think outside the box? Cheater, liar. It's just, your team should have thought of it then. Innovation. It seems other teams were adopting it. I remember other teams, I can't think which off the top of my head, but I think McLaren and Ferrari, we know McLaren had it, Ferrari was rumoured to have it, a similar thing. And other teams, I want to say, like Mercedes, were saying, if this is legalised, we will also adopt this. Which is what happened with the double diffuser, but then other way around, because they said, no, this isn't how we're doing it. We're getting rid of this, you've got to go back. It's boring. Just let them innovate.
Yeah, the very fact that so many teams had already come up with this thing, had seen what McLaren had done and gone, gee, you know what? That's a freaking good idea. Let's do it. That shows that it was a good thing that they did. It was within the rules, it was innovative, and the other teams adopted it. That's how Formula One should work.
No innovation in an innovative sport. How dare McLaren? Continuing with the FIA, new changes for the 2025 season have been announced after a meeting on Thursday. The bonus point for the fastest lap is going to be scrapped. As well as this, the requirements for fielding a young driver increase from 1 to 2. This means each driver of a team will give up 2 FP1s for a rookie, increasing the number of required rookie FP1s from 2 to 4. So, Uno, what do we think of the changes?
I'm all for giving rookies or people without experience in the car more time in the car. Free practice 1 is the best time to do it. The stakes are at the lowest. If they wreck a car, there's enough time to fix it. It's not going to cause too many issues. And it gives teams an idea of what these drivers are capable of. Yeah, they're not racing, but, can they handle the car? Can they go fast? Can they take instruction? Can they give feedback? And these are important aspects to consider when you're thinking of promoting a rookie to your team. So it gives the teams more of a chance to understand what their drivers are capable of. And it also, and I think, this season, if you look at Behrman, if you look at Colapinto, even to a certain degree Lawson, even though he drove last year, his race this weekend was incredible. So you can see that these younger drivers, if they're given these smaller opportunities to do test drives, to do a free practice session, whatever it might be, it's a good thing because they are then ready to climb into a car if needed.
I do kind of agree with you, especially since we're in a time where testing is so regulated and you can't just go out and put a guy in a car and have him do laps and laps and laps and laps and laps and laps and laps. Everything's so regulated. Giving rookies more FP1s, I think, is definitely the way forward, at least just to give them more experience in a current car. I'm all for it. Now, for the fastest lap point, I personally am all for having it scrapped, just because I think a lot of the time it ends up being something I can think of is Mexico 2021. Valtteri pitted to take the fastest lap from Max. Now, I don't remember if he actually got it or not, but it's the fact that in that situation, in a championship fight, who comes out on top is who has the second driver who's more willing to sacrifice. It's not actually about what was Lewis doing. Could Lewis get the fastest lap? It was, okay, Valtteri, you're out of the points. Let's go pit and let's nick that lap, which to me isn't the way I'd want to decide a championship. Like, you can think of this year, I don't think it'll be championship defining because I think the championship is done. I think Max has won it, but you can think Daniel Ricciardo taking the fastest lap, and obviously who knows what that was for, but you can speculate maybe it was so Lando didn't have it. He took that fastest lap. Right, he didn't get anything from it. It is interesting when it's for strategy, like in COTA, Esteban pitting to take the fastest lap.
No, don't take my talking point.
I'm taking your point.
No.
Okay.
We can't have a debate if you're stealing my talking points, because then what am I going to say? That's literally my talking points. You can't have it.
I'll let you keep your point then. I won't argue for the for. I'm just ingrained to argue the for and against. A lot of the times, the fastest lap isn't actually a display of the fastest driver, but which driver has time to go pit for softs and sacrifice their place to grab a fastest lap. It's a lot of the time a midfielder. It's just, to me, it doesn't make much sense.
Let me tell you why you're wrong. So, in COTA, Franco Colapinto had the fastest lap, and Alpine said to Ocon, who was outside of the points, come take a new fresh set of tires and go get the fastest lap. Now, does that give Alpine a point? No. But it does take a point away from their nearest championship rival, which is Williams. So essentially, that fastest lap can be used strategically. And the whole point of Formula One is not just about which car is faster or which driver is the best. It's about strategy, and it's a team effort. No with maybe the exception of Max Verstappen, can win a championship without their teammates' help. Unless the car is so dominant, like we saw last year, like you need your teammate to help you. having that extra driver to be able to go and steal a point off of another team, that's crucial in a championship. And I think that people's views on whether or not that extra point is good will differ depending on which driver is getting that extra point. If you're a Lando Norris fan and this championship is decided on a single point, and you look back to the Singapore Grand Prix and see that Daniel Ricciardo got that point, and so Lando lost the championship, you're going to hate the concept of an extra point. However, if you're a Max Verstappen fan and Lando loses by 1 point, you're going to love the fact that Daniel Ricciardo was able to take that point away from Lando in Singapore. So it really comes down to whose side you're on and how that point ends up affecting the title race or championship standings. So what that tells me is that it's an emotional reaction to the extra points as opposed to seeing it as just another element of the strategy involved in Formula One. Just like you make strategic decisions in qualifying, just like you make strategic decisions during the race as to what tires to use, when you use them, when you put on slicks, when you put on wets, when you put on intermediates, what ride height you use, it all boils down to the strategy you employ to get the most out of your race weekend. And to me, that's a good thing. It makes it more interesting. There's a bigger dynamic involved. It adds an extra element of competition. And in the end of the day, it doesn't hurt anyone any more than any other strategic decision does.
Well, see, you bring up strategic decisions in qualifying, and I agree. I love a good bit of strategy, and this is why I raise you having an extra point. I like throwing an extra point around. I'm not against that. So have a point for qualifying on pole, because doing qualifying is a talent. Having won that pace is a talent. It's a skill. You can have good race pace and not have good one-lap pace. They're both different aspects, and I think they both should be rewarded. I think putting your car on pole should be rewarded because you, at this time, put the strategy together. You came out at the right time. You and your team worked together. You got a good gap. Maybe you somehow managed to sneak a toe. You did everything right to qualify on pole. So I think that should be rewarded.
So Lando Norris would have received a point because George Russell crashed his car.
Well, yeah, that's luck at the end of the day. Like, you get more points in a race if somebody else crashes. That's just how it works.
No, 100%. But if qualifying is red flagged, not because of... So, I mean, you could end up with a situation where the track keeps on evolving, okay? So now we've got 2 minutes left, and the person who's going first sets a lap time, and it's quicker by 1/100th than the fastest time that's already been set. But now there's still 9 other drivers coming around to complete their lap, but then all of a sudden the session is red flagged. So that driver, who would have actually been probably 10th, is now first because of a red flag, not because they actually earned pole position.
That's just the way it goes sometimes, though, isn't it? It's, do you go out first and get a lap time down and risk losing it to track evolution, or do you wait later, risk it for the better track conditions? It's all the strategy of qualifying, weighing the pros and the cons. Sometimes going out first works out better for you because at least you've got a lap time on the board if anything happens. Sometimes, and a lot of the time, nothing happens, and you go out later and you get the better time. It's the pros and the cons of qualifying.
I get what you're saying, but I also feel like that is, then you're basically saying that other teams can't get that point. Because, I mean, if we look at this year, how many teams have actually gotten pole position? Is it 4? Okay. So that means 6 teams would never be able to challenge for that point. Okay. Whereas with fastest lap, as we've seen, a smaller team that's lower down the rankings can still challenge for that.
Oh, but fastest lap is gone now. It's dead. The FIA killed her.
Yes, I know they killed her, but we're discussing whether they should or not. And my whole point is that I'm like, that's the whole reason we're having this discussion. My whole point is that the fastest lap, it allows all teams to compete for it, because at the end of the race, the playing field is a bit more level. So another team like a Williams or an Alpine can challenge for that fastest lap.
All teams is a bit of a stretch, though, isn't it? You have to be in the points, and then if you're challenging for that lap...
No, but because you don't have to be at the points, because, again, at COTA, Esteban was able to take that point off.
Yeah, but he didn't get the point for it.
It doesn't matter. He took it away from Williams, and that could be crucial to determining who comes 8th or 9th in the championship, and therefore how much money they get from Formula One at the end of the season, and how much money they will have next year to put into development of the car, to paying personnel, and how much time they'll get in the wind tunnel. All these things are in play. So that extra point, whether it's given to Williams or taken away from them, is of great importance to a team like Alpine.
The correct solution to this is have a point for pole and a point for fastest lap.
I mean, if you want to, yeah, sure, do that.
I just really want a point for pole, because at the end of the day, you can take, like, Charles for the last couple of years, he puts the Ferrari on pole when it shouldn't be on pole, and then he loses it in the race. So he's got so many poles and then not a lot of wins. And from the outset, that makes him look like maybe a bad driver, but it's just because he has the one lap pace to put that car on pole when it shouldn't be. And I think it's sad that people who have the one lap pace to put a car on pole when it shouldn't be don't get any reward.
I think the whole point system could be a lot more interesting. Like, you could, because of the way qualifying is broken up, you could say, like, if you get into Q3, you get a point, okay? And then if you get pole position, you get 2 points or whatever. And, you know, and then in a sprint race, like, what do we do in a sprint race? Is there also a point for pole position in the sprint race? And if so, like, how does that work?
See, sprints ruin everything.
I mean, not really.
You have to think harder.
Oh gosh, how terrible. In a sport that's all about technology, strategy, and engineering, we have to think harder.
Well, yeah. Or maybe, well, in that case, because sprint points are always less than actual race points. 1 point for sprint pole, 2 points for pole. And then do a point for getting into Q3, but no points for SQ3.
I mean, yeah, you could do something like that. I personally think the right way to go is to change the entire point system and not have points for pole, not have points for fastest lap, but have points for every position except for P20 or DNF.
I so agree with you.
If you finish the race and you finish 19th or above, you get a point or more. And if you finish 20th, you don't get a point. So that way, the standings, because poor Valtteri Bottas would not be last in the championship standings. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I should probably do the math on that, although it would be very annoying to do. But he would probably not be last if the points were awarded.
I mean, yeah, just based on perspective, because he's been racing for the whole season, and people like Franco and Liam and Ollie.
Logan Sargent's not even racing anymore, and he's ahead of him.
Yeah, and he's still ahead of him.
with 0 points. And Zhou as well with 0 points. Even though Bottas has been, and it pains me to say it, has been outdriving Zhou this whole year, Zhou is still ahead of him in the points. Well, not in the points, but in the standings.
No, I mean, I totally agree, because having points all the way down to like 19th makes battles outside of the top 10 a lot more interesting. It's not just about getting 10th, it's about getting 15th over somebody who in the other team who's our rival in the constructors. It's like, I'm pretty sure IndyCar points go all the way down to whoever's last. Yeah. And at the end of the day, it doesn't make the points at the top less valuable because you increase them.
Yeah, and also their points, it's not gold medals and money. They are intrinsically valueless. You know, like when I remember when this new point system was being suggested, and people like Martin Brundle and Mark Webber were like, we can't just be giving points to anyone. Bro, y'all freaking benefited from an updated point system. There used to only be points going up to like P6 or something. And then when y'all were racing, they changed it to P8 and then to P10. Point systems change. And in an era where there's such good reliability, you've got to adapt those point systems yet again. And it's inherently unfair to a team who might be doing better overall throughout the season than another team But because they've never gotten a point, so Sauber could finish every single race P11, P12. And Williams or Alpine could finish every race P19, P20, except for one race where they got a P10, and Alpine would get more money at the end of the year. That's not fair.
See, exactly. This system rewards inconsistency, big spikes of good, big drops of down. That's like Williams last year, their car was worse, but they had specific tracks where they performed really well. I mean, it's looking on the up and up for them, but that's what it was like. They were nowhere in the first half of the year. Their car was more consistent, but it was just out the points every time. And that was just where they were. They didn't get rewarded for improving their car.
So that's why I do kind of like to go back to the original point, is I do like the fastest lap point, because at least teams can use it strategically. The lower to midfield teams can use that fastest lap strategically to either benefit themselves if they happen to be in the top 10, or alternatively to disadvantage another team if they are not personally in the top 10.
I'm sure confusion when the trophies were awarded was a collective experience on Sunday. The announced trophies were nowhere in sight, and everyone apart from Charles got repurposed pole position tyres? Well, it seems the original trophies were pulled due to potential similarities with other designs. These trophies were certainly a sight, with resemblance to somehow Lego and also Disney. But it's rumoured Bear Brick were the company threatening to sue if the trophies weren't vetoed. What did you think of the trophies?
I actually had no idea what Bear Brick is, and I'm actually Googling it right now.
I don't either.
There's a Ninja Turtle Bear Brick, which seems odd to me. And then there's a cow Bear Brick, which also seems odd to me. Who makes these things? Because to me, they just look like ripoffs of Lego. So, like, who's really should be suing who here?
Oh, ew. I feel like it's the type of thing that somebody who likes NFTs would buy.
It does look very AI. Yeah.
Yeah. Why is there a Betty Boop Bear Brick?
I mean, this just everything I'm seeing here. There's Ratfink. This one looks like, to me, it just looks like, I don't know. It looks like a combination between Mickey Mouse and Winnie the Pooh and a Lego man. And quite frankly, I think all of them should be suing Bear Brick, not Bear Brick suing the FIA or Formula One.
Well, the trophies, the pole position tyres, insanely funny. I'm surprised they don't have backup trophies when that was the design. How did you not expect somebody to get annoyed at that? But I'd kind of rather them get those tyres and have those trophies, because they were
I didn't hate them.
ugly.
Like,
I don't know. I did hate them.
I thought they were at least fun. I did wonder why the third place one was like, I think it was black as opposed to being like a bronze, which didn't make sense to me, because
that was bizarre.
Like, it's fine if you were going to do like a white, a gray, a black, or yellow, blue, black, or whatever, but to have gold, silver, and then black just seemed odd to me. It seemed like an odd design choice. You were clearly going for first place gold, second place silver, do third place bronze. It's like, it makes sense, it just sort of, that was my biggest issue with the design. I didn't care that it was a bear. Like, I mean, it's weird, but they've had like a Sonic the Hedgehog trophy before. They had like a gorilla trophy. Yeah, at Suzuka one year in Japan, they had Sonic the Hedgehog. I'll Google it now quickly.
Oh, that's cute though. No, but that's cute.
The trophy, hey?
Yeah.
Let me just bring it up here. Yeah,
no,
and it
looks
like that was Senna that won it, by the looks of it.
Yeah, and they had a bronze, a silver, and a gold one.
Like, and was it at? Oh no, Donington, 1993. Oh, so it wasn't even in. I assumed it had been in Japan because I thought it was a Sega thing, but clearly they were just promoting the Sonic thing. And you know what? That's fine. Like, I don't have a problem with that. It's fun, and Sonic is fast, so it's cool. I don't know if Bear Brick has any. I mean, it wasn't Bear Brick. It just looked like Bear Brick. Yeah. So like, maybe next time just get Bear Brick to freaking design them. If you want it to be like
God,
I
please
don't know.
don't speak that into
Yeah,
existence.
I don't know, but I think you can have fun novelty trophies. Like there's that gorilla one from France a few well, not a few years, like quite a few years ago. There's interesting ones. There's interesting things you can do. It doesn't just have to be like a gold goblet looking thing. Like I find that to be quite boring, and I always like when they're innovative with the trophies.
I think you can do interesting things with the trophies and still have them look nice, though. I just like the trophies to look nice. I didn't like the ones at Monza this year, I won't lie. But they're better than these.
It gives me, what's that? Is it trypophobia where you got that fear of holes? It's giving
Yeah,
trypophobia. I don't like that.
exactly.
No, okay. No, give me Sonic. Yeah.
Exactly. See, you can do interesting things, but I feel like, well, especially the worst trophy this year, actually beating this one, was the AI generated one from Canada. Right, that one looked trophy-y, but oh my god, I've never seen something so soulless.
Yeah, it was, I didn't like that one. I can't remember what it looked like right now, but I remember thinking I didn't like it. I'm going to Google it quickly. AI Canada trophy.
I'd take Bear Brick over that any day.
Oh, it does actually look like if you had to type into AI, give me a cool looking trophy.
Oh god, it looks worse than I remember it.
This is what it would come up with, because it just seems so, yeah, I don't know. Like, what are they going for here? What is the concept?
And then they've got the AWS logo on it. It's so,
yeah, I don't like it. I mean, yeah, I again, like, to go back to the bears from COTA, I don't have a problem with them. I'm pretty sure I did like that everyone thought that Pato Award had stolen them.
yeah.
And then he tweeted, "No, I didn't." And then people were like tagging him with photos of him with the trophy. It was very funny. But yeah, I didn't have a intrinsic issue with them. But yeah, they probably, if the thing is, if they were infringing on someone's like intellectual property, they can't do that, and that's got to be stopped. So whoever designed the trophy, I think, needs to be asked some serious questions as to why they came up with that style of trophy. But at the same time, I think that Disney and Lego need to speak to Bear Brick as well, because what's going on there, that's clearly also their intellectual property.
Finally, a light-hearted story from the last week. Gunther Steiner, ex-Haas team principal and current commentator, has opened a bed and breakfast. It is located in Murano, Italy, where Gunther was born and raised. The beautiful property is named Villa Steiner, and each room is named after a different F1 circuit. So will you be taking a trip there,
Unlikely. Trips to Europe are quite pricey. However, I think it's a very cool idea. And I just love that Gunther Steiner has gone from being fired from Haas to just like doing this whole like evolution of himself, and now he's a commentator here, and he's doing like endorsement deals, and he's got a little B&B or guest house. Go make that bag, Gunther. Go make that bag. We all know Gene wasn't paying you well. He doesn't pay anyone well. So I'm happy that you're making some money. And I just think that he's a very fun personality. He might not have been a very good team principal, but he's a great personality, and good for him. Have some fun. He got a bit of fame, and now he's capitalizing on that. He's clearly not an idiot when it comes to business ideas, because that's exactly what he needs to be doing, is capitalizing on his fame and making something out of it. Nice little nest egg for the kids when he shuffles off of this mortal coil in like 40 years time.
God, that's a way to put it.
I mean, everyone dies, so you got to leave a legacy. And
he shuffles off of this mortal coil.
I'm pretty sure that's like Shakespeare or some shit. I don't know.
Oh dear.
I could be wrong. It's like an actual saying. Shuffle off of this mortal coil. But yeah, I think good for him. Like, cool. I'm excited to see pictures of it. I'm pretty sure that there'll be nice, interesting, like F1 memorabilia and stuff inside of it, which I think if ever you're in Italy and you're an F1 fan, it might be a very cool place to like spend a weekend or something.
Absolutely. Anyway, I think that's everything. So thank you for joining us. That's all the news we have for you this week. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, as we will have news for you every Wednesday. Thank you for watching, and have a good rest of your day or night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Toto Wolff is probably reading this news and just thinking about Christian Horner and just being like, he can't keep getting away with this. No, Mikey, no, it's not right.